Hunter's Legacy is a frustrating game, but not because it's overly difficult or hard to control, but rather because I spent the entire time trying to figure out why I wasn't having any fun. I mean, it's a 2D platformer with a likable feline hero. It takes place in a gorgeously hand-drawn world, and it takes its inspiration from the Metroidvania greats. And yet, despite what sounds like a winning formula, I found the act of actually playing the game to be a real slog. Stop me if you've heard this one before. You play Icky, a noble Irreper hunter who must go on an epic adventure to retrieve the Fang of Alliance and defeat the evil Moritor. But instead of simply taking the direct route, we'll first need to pick up a trio of orbs and unlock the gate. This means traveling all throughout the neighboring areas, including the maze-like forest, the cloud-covered mountaintops, and yes, even the evil castle. Despite not being an especially original setup, this should have led into an entertaining 2D platformer littered with cat puns and anthropomorphic fun. We've seen the Metroidvania formula used countless times before, and it almost guarantees a good time, even when the components don't quite come together. But that wasn't the problem with Hunter's Legacy, and it took me a good chunk of the game to put my finger on the problem. Like most games in the genre, we're given a large and diverse map full of interconnected areas to explore. We can warp all around the neighboring areas, but the orbs you need to collect are on 3 distinct paths. The problem is that the stage layouts make getting around a real pain. You'll get stuck in vines, clobbered by aggressive enemies, and stuck dealing with frustrating dead ends. And that assumes you don't get hopelessly lost along the way. I probably shouldn't gloss over the aggressive enemies, because that ended up being one of the most frustrating parts of Hunter's Legacy. They all gang up on you, chase you around the level, and even float through walls. They tend to stick to you, making it hard to fight them. They're so annoying that I found myself spending a lot of the time just dodging them and running to the next checkpoint. Of course, none of these issues are necessarily bad on their own, but they begin to add up and slow down the pace. It feels like you're interrupted every time you start to get a rhythm, to the point where I can never get a flow going. We're supposed to be some badass warrior, yet the enemies have no problem getting cheap hits, and Icky barely has any moves. And again, all this assumes that you know where you're going. I found the map to be woefully inadequate, leaving me even more lost than I was before. It doesn't help that Hunter's Legacy doesn't stray too far from the Metroidvania blueprint. In fact, it recycles most of the upgrades, such as a ground pound and air dash. There's never a point where the game introduces a bunch of cat-related abilities. It's just the same crap you see in every other game. And there isn't that much of it, which I found a little surprising. We basically only get a few upgrades that have a very limited use, making this feel a lot more limited than other games in the genre. I will say that the bright and colorful graphics are a nice change of pace from some of the other games I've been reviewing lately. Icky is a good-looking hero, and the world has a cool hand-drawn look. I do wish the locations were a bit more original, but like everything else in Hunter's Legacy, you've seen it all before. Still, the graphics are sharp, and I like the character designs. On the other hand, I do not like the boss fights. For one thing, there aren't very many of them. The problem is that most of them take too long and can end in cheap ways. There's one boss where the wind will send you flying all around the screen in some glitchy ways. And even the most tolerable boss ends up being little more than mindless hacking and slashing. These battles left me baffled and a little angry. This is an example of a game that has all the pieces, but can't quite put them together. I like the hero and the colorful world, but hated how difficult it was to get around. Hunter's Legacy is a disappointingly shallow experience that never fully embraces its feline theme and constantly comes up short. You're better off staying up late watching cute cat videos on YouTube. Hey, thanks for watching our review. This has already been a busy week, and it's only Tuesday. So far, we've looked at Spirit Sphere and Monumental Failure, and we still have Bloody Boobs and Gunmetal Arcadia to go. And did I mention that we're about to announce the full details about our trivia game show? We still have a lot in store this week, so I recommend you click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.